From Bellator's greatest prospect to UFC's next big thing, the story of Aaron Pluko. The air in Chicago is electric. The city, known for its deep dish pizza and passionate sports fans, is once again the epicenter of the mixed martial arts world. UFC 319 is here, and it's a card that has fight fans buzzing. The main event, a championship clash between two undefeated powerhouses, Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev, is being hailed by many, including UFC President Dana White, as a potential Fight of the Year contender. But a funny thing happened at the pre-fight press conference. While the main event stars were met with thunderous applause, the co-main event, featuring a UFC debutant, was met with boos. This wasn't just any debutant, though. This was Aaron Pluko. Pico, a name long familiar to die-hard MMA fans, is a former Bellator standout who has just signed with the UFC. His opponent, Lerone Murphy, is a top-ranked featherweight contender. The fact that Pico, a newcomer to the organization, is getting the co-main event slot on a pay-per-view card is a testament to the belief the UFC has in him. It's also a move that has many people scratching their heads. So, why did the UFC give this kind of a spotlight to a debutant? The answer, as it turns out, is a fascinating look into the mind of Dana White and the strategic decisions that make the UFC the biggest combat sports promotion in the world. The buzz around Aaron Pluko. Aaron Pluko isn't your average fighter. At just 28 years old, he's already a veteran of the sport, with a record that tells a story of both immense promise and painful learning experiences. He came into the sport with a pedigree that's almost unheard of. A former Golden Gloves amateur boxing champion and a decorated medalist in freestyle wrestling, he was, in many circles, considered a prodigy. Scott Coker, the former head of Bellator, once famously dubbed him the greatest prospect in MMA history. That's a huge title to live up to, and in the early days of his career, the pressure seemed to get the best of him. He suffered several early losses, all by stoppage, which could have been career-ending for a lesser fighter. But Pluko isn't a lesser fighter. He's a survivor. He picked himself up, went back to the drawing board, and completely reinvented himself. He worked on his technique, honed his mental game, and emerged as a completely different animal. His recent record speaks for itself. 9 wins in his last 10 fights, with 7 of those coming by way of a finish. He's not just winning, he's dominating. This is the Aaron Pluko that the UFC is bringing to the big stage. This is the Aaron Pluko that Dana White believes is ready for the spotlight. Dana White's vision. When asked about the decision to have Pluko co-headline UFC 319, Dana White didn't mince words. He understands the fan interest and the intrigue surrounding Pluko's transition from Bellator to the UFC. People have been interested in Pluko for a long time and how he would do in the UFC. White told FOX 32 Chicago, "He's coming in with a bang." This move isn't just about putting a new face on a big card. It's about a strategic gamble. It's about giving a proven, exciting, and explosive fighter a chance to prove himself against a top-tier opponent on the biggest stage possible. He's taking on a guy who's undefeated in the co-main event on a card like this, White said. "I'm happy for him at this point in his career to have this type of a fight with this type of attention." The subtext here is clear. The UFC sees potential in Pluko. They believe he has the skills, the mental fortitude, and the it factor to become a star. This is a high-risk, high-reward situation. If Pluko wins, he immediately rockets up the rankings and becomes a serious contender in the featherweight division. If he loses, the narrative of a Bellator fighter failing to transition to the UFC will only grow stronger. The Bellator to UFC transition. Aaron Pluko isn't the first, and he certainly won't be the last, Bellator star to make the jump to the UFC. But his journey is a timely one. as the recent past has shown that the transition isn't always smooth. Earlier this year, two of Bellator's most decorated champions, Patricio Pitbull Freire and Patchy Mix, made their highly anticipated UFC debuts. Pitbull, a two-division champion and widely considered Bellator's greatest of all time, took on former interim champion Yair Rodriguez at UFC 314. The fight was a nail-biter, but in the end, Pitbull came up short, losing a hard-fought decision. Patchy Mix, the final Bellator bantamweight champion, also had a tough go of it. He dropped his debut at UFC 316 to Mario Bautista in another close decision. Both of these fighters are incredibly talented, but their struggles in their first UFC fights highlight a crucial point. The UFC is a different beast. The competition is fierce, the pace is relentless, and the pressure is immense.